Unbelievable. Why a Japanese women POW secretly hid a cucumber. July 1945. In a detention camp in the middle of America after World War II, guards discovered a Japanese female prisoner, Ko Ishikawa, hiding a cucumber. Not to eat, not to fight off hunger. Why would she risk her life for something so small? Was it a sign of rebellion? Or a secret no one could have imagined? Why would a woman treasure it like something sacred? And why did that secret nearly drift hundreds of prisoners to despair? You are about to uncover a truth history never told, one that will send chills down your spine. The only question is, do you have the courage to hear it to the end? But before we begin, if you'd like to hear more incredible untold stories that history has tried to bury, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment to let me know where you're watching from. Unbelievable. That was exactly the word a U.S. guard uttered on a sweltering afternoon in 1945, when he saw something extraordinary in the women's Japanese prisoner camp. But what stunned the sunburned man was not a weapon, not secret documents, but just a cucumber. The scene unfolds at a detention camp in the American Midwest, where every barbed wire fence shimmered under the sun like walls of fire. Here, hundreds of Japanese women were held after the brutal Pacific campaigns. They wore wrinkled gray prison uniforms, eyes cast down, walking in pairs under the watchful eyes of American guards. No one dared to be different. No one dared to do anything except survive, one day at a time. Among them was Ko Ishikawa, a young nurse who had once served at a field hospital near Okinawa. The pride on her face was long gone, replaced by the shadow of war. But Ko carried a secret no one could have guessed. When the cold meal tray was handed out, with a few slices of potato and some limp vegetables, she quietly closed her hand around something hidden, a glistening green cucumber. No one knew where she got it, but she held it tightly, as if it were part of her own flesh and blood. To the American guards, it was just a vegetable. To the prisoners, it was an entire story. In the camp, a cucumber was not just food. It was silent defiance. It was how one small human being could declare, "I still have the right to choose. I still have a sliver of humanity." But secrets like that are hard to keep. A few eyes had seen. Whispers began to spread among the hunched figures in the wooden barracks. "She's hiding something." The murmurs grew. Suspicious glances multiplied, and with them came the fear of collective punishment. In this camp, a single mistake by one person could cost the entire barrack their rations, their meager privileges. As the rumor spread, the barrack began to divide. Some admired Ko's bravery, others resented her, seeing her as selfish and reckless for putting everyone at risk. In the thick darkness, as the lights-out whistle blew, Ko sat silently on her thin blanket, still clutching the cucumber. It was cool and smooth, as if it carried the breath of another world, a world beyond the fences, beyond the guards, beyond the barked commands. To her, it was a piece of sky, a piece of herself that the war had not taken away. And then, the shocking question began to emerge. Why would a woman risk everything just to hide a cucumber? That night, Ko did not sleep. Outside, the wind creaked through the fences. Inside, the entire camp seemed to be holding its breath. Everyone waited to see. Where would this secret lead? A tiny rumor had begun to spark, then spread like a fire across a dry field. Someone whispered, "Ko Ishikawa hid something." Another added, I saw her tuck something in her towel. And the whisper did not stop. It moved from corner to corner, from the top bunk to the bottom, spreading like a fever. At first, it was suspicion. Then it became certainty. Finally, it turned into accusation. Hana, an older prisoner known for her strictness and her will to survive at all costs, was the first to raise her voice. She's been reckless. She'll get all of us punished. You know the rule. Hide anything, and the whole barrack pays the price. The entire room fell silent. All eyes turned to Ko. In the torn sleeve of her shirt, the cucumber still rested, cold as ice. Ko bowed her head, her hand trembling. She knew the secret was no longer safe. The whispers turned into angry murmurs. A few women, eyes full of fury, stepped closer. You're selfish, Ko. You want all of us to starve with you? Throw it away, right now. Ko backed up until her back hit the wooden wall. She wanted to scream that she never meant to hurt anyone, that the cucumber was not about hunger, but something deeper, more personal. But her throat tightened. No words came out. She was afraid. Not of the American guards, but of the eyes of her own people now staring at her like a traitor. The shouting finally reached outside, and just minutes later, the pounding of boots echoed in the yard. 3 American guards entered, eyes cold as steel, rifles in hand. The one in front barked, "Line up!" Everyone line up. Full search of the barrack, now. The air turned to ice. Dozens of Japanese women stood up, trembling, arms crossed over their chests, eyes fixed on the ground. The boots thundered. Rough hands tore off blankets, turned out fabric sacks, flipped small metal boxes. The clatter of belongings hitting the floor sounded like hammers pounding on hearts. Ko knew the moment had come. Her hand clenched tighter, the cold slickness of the cucumber in her palm feeling like she was gripping fate itself. She trembled at the thought. If they find it, everyone will be punished. Maybe rations cut. Maybe solitary confinement. Maybe worse. Shouts rang out. Women were forced to raise their hands. Flashlights swept across faces, slicing through the thick air filled with fear. And then, just as one guard stepped up to Ko and reached to open her shirt, a voice rang out, strong and clear, tearing through the silence. Enough. It was me. I hid it. Everyone froze. The one who spoke was Ayako, Ko's fellow prisoner, a thin woman with fierce eyes. She stepped forward, stood tall, and raised her hand. If you want to punish someone, punish me. I took the cucumber. The air exploded with shock. Ko stood frozen. The cucumber was still in her hand, but the confession had come from someone else. The guards exchanged glances. One stepped forward, narrowing his eyes. Hand it over. Ayako did not flinch. She held out her hands, empty. No cucumber. But her calm gaze was so steady, it made the guards hesitate. One of them spat on the ground and growled, "Crazy women." No punishment would be enough. But instead of punishing them right away, they shouted a few more threats, then stormed out, leaving the air heavy as stone. As the iron door slammed shut, every eye turned to Ayako. She sat down, back against a wooden post, breathing hard, soaked in sweat. Ko walked over, tears in her eyes, but Ayako simply shook her head. Keep it, Ko. Don't let them take even the last thing that is yours. In that moment, Ko understood that the cucumber was no longer just her secret. It had become a symbol of sacrifice, of dignity, of humanity in the dark. but the consequences remained. The prison camp was never the same again. No one in the barracks slept that night. The footsteps of the guards echoed down the hallway, and the clash of metal from the iron doors sounded like the voice of hell. Inside, the prisoners sat against the walls, eyes wide open. Everyone was still haunted by Ayako's confession. Someone whispered, "There was no reason for her to take the blame. She saved all of us." The wooden barrack had turned into an invisible courtroom. Half the women looked at Ko with reproach, seeing her as the one who started all the trouble. The other half looked at Ayako like a saint, someone willing to sacrifice herself to protect the dignity of everyone in the camp. Ko sat in a corner, the cucumber still in her hand, now heavy as a boulder. Every time she looked up, all she saw were the eyes of those around her, eyes filled with coldness, contempt, pity, and anger. 100 questions churned in her mind. Was I wrong? Did one small secret cause everyone to suffer? But if I let go, what would I have left to hold on to? That night, Ko had a dream. She saw herself back in her home garden, rows of green cucumbers standing straight in the breeze, the scent of damp earth in the air. But then, the plants were ripped from the soil, the cucumbers crushed beneath soldiers' boots. She ran after them, screamed, but her voice was drowned out by the blare of an alarm. When she woke up, her prison shirt was soaked in sweat, and the cucumber was still in her hand. Proof of both guilt and hope. The next day, the air in the camp felt different. The American guards, once harsh, suddenly seemed quieter. They still barked commands, still lined the women up, but their eyes had changed. One of them, the one who had pointed his gun at Ayako during the lunch shift, added an extra spoonful of vegetables to her tray. No one said anything, but everyone saw it. A small change. Fragile but real, Hana, the one who had accused, became a thorn in many people's eyes. Wherever she walked, whispers followed behind her. If it weren't for her, the guards wouldn't have searched us. Hana shouted, "I just wanted us to survive. Do you think a cucumber is worth more than our lives?" No one answered, but the division had sunk deep. The prison camp, already suffocating, was now split into two. One side believed that holding on to small things meant holding on to humanity. The other believed survival was all that mattered. Ko slowly became the center of it all. As she passed by, she heard the whispers, selfish, foolish. But there was also a quiet voice, trembling. Thank you. Just a few short words, but enough to make her cry in silence. And so the days passed. Strangely, the cucumber was never eaten. It slowly withered, the skin wrinkling, the green turning yellow. But Ko still held on to it, as if it were her very soul. Others began to understand. The cucumber was not food. It was a symbol of silent resistance, of an inner world that the guards could never touch. One evening, Ayako came closer, her voice hoarse. "Ko, do you know?" That night, when I lied, I saw one of the guards' eyes soften. Maybe just for a brief moment, he remembered that we are human too. Those words made Ko choke up. For the first time, she understood that the cucumber was not just preserving her memory, but also forcing even her captors to look at their own humanity. The rumor about the Japanese prisoner's cucumber spread throughout the camp. Guards whispered, prisoners gossiped. No one knew the exact truth, but the story became a legend behind the barbed wire. People said, "There's a woman who risked her life for a cucumber." Some laughed, some admired, But everyone remembered. Yet the nightmare did not end. When the guards left and darkness returned, the whispers in the barrack became more vicious than ever. One prisoner smirked, hissing through her teeth. Maybe she's keeping that cucumber. Not to eat. Another burst into a dry laugh. That's right. Alone in the dark, she's seeking pleasure. The giggles and sharp laughter spread across the corners of the barrack like knives cutting into flesh. Ko sat still, her face burning red, her hand squeezing the cucumber so hard it drew blood. She wanted to scream, to deny it, but the more silent she was, the more they mocked her. Is this what your Japanese call honor? Ridiculous. No, it's just a filthy little game. The laughter spread like a disease. Some turned away, unable to listen. Others sneered, enjoying the sight of Ko with her head bowed, trembling in the dark. Ko felt as if the entire world was collapsing. To her, the cucumber was memory, the last thread tying her to her childhood and her family. But in the eyes of the others, it had become a filthy joke. A slow burning rage rose inside her. Why do they twist my dignity into mockery? Why do they drag something sacred down into base desire? That night, her tears soaked the pillow. Each drop was like a knife carving deeper into her isolation. She no longer feared only the guards. Now she feared her own kind as well.